Record to the cloud. Fab. So hello everybody, and welcome to, this is I think our fourth cookery class now. We're getting better with each one we do, but please bear with us because obviously we are not professionals and things do happen to go wrong, although that all adds to the enjoyment and the drama, it has to be said. And I'm never using tea lights again on one of these because I managed to set fire to my kitchen before Christmas, which was obviously very amusing. But we're just going to do a very quick round of introductions. So just to introduce all the presenters, because there's going to be a few of us this afternoon. It's more interesting for you watching. You get to snoop around the kitchens of other people as well. And we can show you more stuff, actually. We can get more things done when there's more people doing it. So if you've got any questions, please do either, you can unmute yourself and ask. We've spotlighted the speaker, so you will not be shown on the video. Or you can use the chat, and then Marie, who's monitoring the chat, will just draw one of our attention to it. So please do feel free to ask questions. Now, this session is really set up for customers. So I know there are a lot of new people on here that aren't customers, but we'll just sort of rattle through things. And if you've got a specific question about what we're doing, then please do interrupt and ask us. But hopefully you'll get a good appreciation of what the Thermomix can do and what it's all about from there. So anyway, we're going to start. My name's Lindsay. I'm a trained chef. I've worked with Thermomix now for just coming up for 3 years. I said no to this business for a good few years before that, and I have to say that was one of my biggest regrets. I thought the Thermomix was just another one of those expensive gadgets, and it wasn't for me. I have to say, I'm very happy to admit on this occasion that I got it completely wrong. Love cooking with it. It's so much fun. It makes me cook even more, and yeah, I have a great time doing what I do. So that's me. And then I don't know, Marie, if you can move the spotlight as I sort of introduce everybody that's cooking with me this afternoon. So if we go
try, I'm just having a technical issue myself actually at the moment, so okay. I will do my best.
If we go over to Michaela, don't know if we can go over. There's Duchess of Arundel. Let's spotlight Michaela. So I'll just introduce Michaela. This is Michaela. Now, Michaela was one of actually my original customers who gave me the opportunity to come down and show her, and we're wearing matching aprons, come down and show her what it's all about. So Michaela then became an advisor last July time, wasn't it? June, July, yeah. To earn her second Thermomix for free. And we're just having a lot of fun together. And yeah, it's working really well. That's Michaela. Then who have we got else? So let's go. I'm going to try and go to Elzette now. Oh, I don't want to spotlight.
I've got it.
There we go. Oh, brilliant. So this is Elzette. Elzette's quite a new advisor, only joined us about 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Yes. And I went and did a demo at Elzette and her husband's home just before Christmas. They absolutely loved it. So decided to join the team, and we're very excited to have you. That's Elzette. And then if we can go to Glynis. Oh, Marie, are you spotlighting? Oh, now Glynis, there she is, stroking her Thermomix. Glynis has become somewhat of a celebrity, actually, since doing her first Thermomix demo with us in January. I have to say, you were a bit nervous, weren't you, Glynis, about
oh my God,
cooking.
I was terrified.
But Glynis is one of these people very differently to me who couldn't cook before, but now she has the Thermomix, has really embraced that whole cooking thing, and absolutely loves it. Doesn't really let her husband get a look in, although she sends him off to the supermarket quite a lot.
I do.
To go and buy all the ingredients. That's Glynis, and last but not least, we'll come to Sarah Cohen. Yeah. So if oh my goodness, there she is. Look, she's putting our aprons to shame. So this is Sarah in her beautiful kitchen. Sarah, again, was one of my customers, introduced to me by a mutual friend just before Christmas, and then said to me, oh, I think I could do what you guys do. It looks like a lot of fun. So she joined the team about, what was it, Sarah, now? 2 weeks, just 2 weeks ago.
Yes, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we've thrown you in at the deep end, already done a demo, and she's already made 4 sales. So there we go, off to a flying start. Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant. So that's so, and Marie, should we just introduce you? Marie is
We've
doing
got Sue first as well.
Oh, Sue. Oh, yes, sorry, Sue. Let's introduce Sue. Hi, Sue. So again, Sue, one of my customers from, well, actually about nearly 2 years ago now, you've had your Thermomix. Loves it. So Sue was really interested in all the free-from cooking that you can do. So absolutely perfect for Sue to be on this call this afternoon and showing you some of the staples that she makes regularly using her machine and how she saves money. So we're looking forward to Sue giving us her expertise later. And then just to finish, we've got Marie, who is monitoring the chat. And Marie is perhaps the complete opposite of Sue, because Sue's like the very, very healthy one, lots of free-from, lots of sugar-free cooking. And Marie makes chocolates for a living and runs chocolate making and cocktail making workshops. So there we go, chalk and cheese. Just shows you the Thermomix is for everybody, though.
Totally is.
Yeah, fab. Right.
Lindsay, I just want to draw your attention to a really good question. Is it Taruna? She says, can I ask the advisors how much time do you give to Thermomix? Well, let's just say my husband is putting in for a neglect case.
Unfortunately, the husbands, they do feel a little bit neglected because we all love our Thermomixes way too much. It's very variable, Taruna. You know, it's as much or as little as you want to put in, but it's like anything, you know, with any of these businesses, the more you put in, the better results that you get. I mean, in terms of the business. So we can take that quick, we can have a chat about that next week. Today, I just want to cook and I really want to get on with the cooking because I really like to stay to an hour. So if we can hand over, first of all, I'm going to hand over to Elzette, who is going to show us the gluten-free artisan bread. Now, just a little note on this, it is not a vegan recipe because it has eggs in it. I do believe you could make it vegan plant-based by using a chia seed egg instead, but I haven't tested that. But this is such a good recipe. It's so quick and easy. And it's one of these recipes that I've done at gluten-free demos and all my customers have raved about it and said how delicious and easy it is. So we felt it was really important to show you. So I'm gonna go straight over to Elzette.
Great. So I have already, the first step is to add 80 grams of almond. I've done that because it basically chops it into a very, very fine powder. And
that takes what was about a minute or something like that.
Oh, yeah. And the setting is at a minute, but it probably 30 seconds and it's done. So I've done that step. And then let me just bring you to my machine. And then I click next and you grind it. And then the next step is to scrape down the sides. I've done that already. And now we are ready to add 2 teaspoons of dried yeast. There you go. Then we add 400 grams of gluten-free flour. So you can actually, there's a recipe on Cookie Doo where you can actually do it yourself, make your own flour. I will try that next time, but in the meantime, I've gone and bought my own.
And Elzette is just using the instructions, following the instructions on the screen. So every step of this recipe appears on the screen and she's weighing those ingredients directly into the weighing scales inside the machine. So it just makes it really easy. It means you have to use less equipment.
Exactly. So, and you can tear the scales as well. So if it's not at 0, you can just tear it, but it's so simple. So now it's asking me to do 60 grams of olive oil. So I tend to pour everything into a bowl, but sometimes you might want to pour it into a separate bowl and then adding it, because sometimes it's a bit difficult to get liquid out of solids. Then 300 grams of sparkling water. So Lindsay, do you think this is just to give it more of an aeration in the texture?
Yeah, I think so. I just think it might help with that. It will react with the baking powder that's in the recipe, just to give it a little bit more lift, because one of the common complaints of gluten-free bread is it's quite heavy. Now, having said that, I've got one ready to go in the oven so people can see that, but the sparkling water I've had sat in my fridge has been in there for about 6 weeks, so it's kind of lost all its fizz.
Okay, then 2 large eggs. one and another one. Okay, and then next is a tablespoon of sugar.
And you could omit the sugar if you wanted to. So any of these ingredients, you can either, perhaps not with the baking recipes because they usually have to be pretty exact, but certainly with the recipes like the curries or the risottos, if you want to leave ingredients out, or if you want to add extra garlic or extra onion or extra herbs, etc., you can.
Yes.
So it's not going to tell you off.
No. Now I've got a tablespoon of xanthan gum. And then we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of gluten-free baking powder. So there's 1.5. Here we go. And then I think it's just some sea salt, and then we are going to get ready to knead it. So just in terms of price, the cost of this recipe, I had a look. So a loaf that you buy from Asda, their own gluten-free loaf, which is over 500 grams, is about £1.80. Whereas the loaf that you buy, let's say at Waitrose, which is more of an artisanal loaf, which is what we're making here today, this recipe is half the price compared to what you would get in Waitrose. And if you were to compare it to the traditional sliced gluten-free bread that you would buy at Asda, this recipe, based on the exact weight, is £1 cheaper. So, and it tastes so much better because it's fresh and just absolutely delicious. Even my husband loves eating this bread, and he can be a bit fussy. So now she's going to knead it for 5 minutes. So I think Marie is going to move the camera on, and that is it. And then it's just going to go into a baking tray and prove it, which I'll show you that step after 5 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, it's going to move back to me. Oh, all right, so I made one about an hour ago. So as you can see, it's proved really nicely. I've just had a little bit of grease cling from over it. Now the dough is very wet, so you have to use sort of wet spatula to shape it. But what you do when the dough is kneaded is that you just empty it out, tip it out onto a baking sheet and form a rough dome, cut 3 slits in it with a wet knife. And then just to give it a little bit of colour, I am going to brush a little bit of beaten egg over the top like this and pop some seeds on top because that makes it just look really lovely and professional. It's a little bit of beaten egg. If you don't want to use egg, you could use some plant-based milk if you wanted to, or you could just brush it with water to get the seeds to stick on. But the egg will give it a lovely sort of golden brown colour. So let's just pop that on. And then I've just got some of these, a little packet of seeds here. I'm just going to sprinkle them over the top. Hopefully you can see me doing that. Like that. I mean, that already looks fabulous. And that is going to go straight into a 200-degree oven and bake. Let's let Tarina in, I can just see it, and bake for approximately 40 to 50 minutes. There is quite a long bake time on this one, but it is worth the wait, I can tell you. So I'm just going to pop that straight into my oven. And set a timer. And then I'm going to go straight into the gluten-free pasta. So let's put my timer on. Right. Okay, so I'm going to make some vegan and gluten-free pasta. Now, there is gluten-free pasta on Cookie Dough.
Come on.
Hang on. Marie, do you want to, can you mute everybody other than me? So there is a gluten-free pasta recipe on Cookie Dough. There we go. Which uses egg and gluten-free flour. I'm going to do this without egg. So it's a little recipe that I've developed that I've been playing with for a number of years now. And I finally got it to work. So it's a little bit fragile, the dough, and you have to take care when you're rolling it out, but I will show you that at the end of the session. So I'm going to show you how to make this dough now. We're going to use this, the Thermomix in full manual mode. Before we do that, actually, I'm going to get started, I think, with the pasta sauce. And then I can make the dough when we're doing the pasta sauce. Okay, so with the pasta sauce, again, there's lots of pasta sauce recipes on Cookie Do. There's some butternut squash ones. There's a butternut squash and chickpea one, which I was looking at. But a lot of them involve cooking the pasta inside the sauce, which is brilliant if you want less washing up or if you're in a rush. But actually, if you're making your own pasta, it can be a little bit more fragile. So I didn't want one that would cook inside the Thermomix. I wanted to make a sauce. So again, I've come up with my own. So this is a great example of how you can use your Thermomix. If you, so one of the biggest sort of complaints I hear from people is, oh, well, I like to cook, so it's really not for me because I'll be just restricted by using all the recipes on the screen. And that is absolutely not the case. You can still do your own recipes, you can still add or amend, and you can still sort of exercise that creativity. If anything, you'll exercise that creativity in more ways. So I'm gonna just put my scales on. So let me just show you, if I bring you over to the, get a close up of my apron there. Oh, fabulous. So you can see the front of my machine. You can see the 3 dials on the front. So I've got time, temperature, and speed. I'm just gonna hop across and go onto my scales. So you can see I'm weighing in those my ingredients. I'm gonna put in 2 cloves of garlic and 350 grams of butternut squash. So that will go in. And now I need to find a lid, which has vanished. And then I'm going to reset my scales to 0, and I'm going to use some olive oil, and I'm just going to weigh in about 10 to 15 grams of olive oil straight in, so I can control exactly how much I'm using, which is absolutely brilliant when you're doing recipe development, because of course you remember the quantities that you've used. So then I'm going to use the Thermomix. I'm just going to chop it all up. I'm going to come back to my main screen, and I'm going to chop it for about 7 or 8 seconds at speed 5. I'll show you what's happened. Really, I'll just see if I can spin around to that. Wait, you might get that. Okay, so can you see I've got some nice, it's roughly chopped. That's all I really want. You can chop again if you want to, but I'm just going to use the Thermomix to saute now. Unfortunately, my favourite spatula is on its way out this morning. Does anybody else have a favourite spatula? I've got so many spatulas, but there's just one, always one that I gravitate to. And unfortunately, I think this one's going to have to go in the bin. So there we go. So I've just stirred that all around. You can see the olive oil's mixed in with the squash and the garlic. And then I am going to saute it now for about 10 minutes. I'm just going to program this to saute for 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to do it at about just over 100 degrees. And I'm going to use a gentle speed, sort of 1. So there we go. You can see my timer's counting down. I've programmed my temperature, and it's just sort of stirring for me. So if I show you what's happening inside, there you go. The machine takes over and stirs and temperature controls, which basically means I can just go and do something else. So I could do more cooking at that point, or I could go off and see my children. But for me, that was not a selling point of this particular machine. Right, so I'm going to come back to my other machine and do my pasta dough in here while that's sauteing away. So again, I'm going to put the scales on the front. Let's put those on. And I'm going to weigh in 50 grams of I got it here, Dubs Farm gluten-free plain white flour. So that goes in. So 50 grams is going in. Just slightly over, that's fine. Then I'm going to put a little bit of xanthan gum, and we're talking about 1/4 of a teaspoon. Now, I'm not making a big portion of this. Obviously, you can increase the quantities with this, but this is just really a 1-person portion. It makes about 80 grams of pasta. And I'm going to use a small amount of xanthan gum. So you can see that on my teaspoon. It's not really even 1/2 a teaspoon, about 1/4 of a teaspoon. Now, this is really important when you're using anything that requires sort of gluten development and you don't have the gluten. because you need that stretch and elasticity when you're rolling out the pasta, otherwise it will just crumble through the machine. So I'm also going to add in a little bit of olive oil. So I want 5 grams of olive oil. So of course I could just put a teaspoon in, but I've got my scales, I can be really accurate. I'm just going to put in 5 grams of olive oil. And then I'm going to add in 32 grams of hot water. Now you can also use, if you've got the Aquafaba, I never know how to pronounce it, Aquafaba or Aquafaba, Sue will correct me. You can use the water from a tin of chickpeas, just bring it up to the boil, ensure that it's hot. But I'm just going to use hot water here, and I'm going to put in about 32 grams. There we go, 34. Ooh, just one slightly over. I hope that's not going to make it too wet. I should have weighed it out. And then I'm just going to put on my knead function for 1 minute. So if you can see, if I go onto my screen here, and if I just show you my functions, there we go. These are all the functions that we've got on our main screen. There's a few more on the second screen as well, but I'm just going to go back and I'm going to select the dough function. And I'm just going to put on 1 minute to knead. Okay. And we're going to let that knead away for a minute. And it's not actually that worth going over to another person at the moment. So I'm just going to show you the machine kneading away. I don't know if you can see that sort of the way the blades are spinning. They spin in one direction and then they sort of spin in the other. And this is our like proprietary knead function. It means that you can knead bread usually in about 2 minutes. When I make regular pasta dough, I will just knead it in a minute. I can make tortilla dough and knead that in about a minute as well. I'm just going to stop that and get a spatula and have a poke around in there, see what's happening. I've got such a small quantity in here. It just needs a little bit of encouragement with a spatula to come together, but I think I'm almost there. Can you see it's coming together? Now, what we want with this dough is we want it to just hold. So I'm just going to give it another few seconds. And I'm sure that'll be fine. And then I'll just tip it out and show you what it looks like. Lots of people get a little bit worried when working with pasta dough because it can be crumbly. And certainly the gluten-free one can be really crumbly because the gluten-free flour doesn't have the gluten in it to hold it together and give it that stretch and elasticity. But this, although more fragile, you can still roll it through a pasta machine. And this is what you're looking for. So can you see? It's sort of gone into bigger lumps. If I just angle you down, I'm just going to tip it straight out into my work surface, and you're going to think she's crazy. That will never come together. However, with a little bit of squeezing, and it is a little bit wetter than I would have liked, so I'll probably add in a teaspoon more flour or so. That is coming together really nicely. Can you see? And so that is my gluten-free pasta dough. And I'm just going to leave this to rest. I'm going to wrap it in a little bit of cling film and then leave it to rest. You could leave it to rest in the fridge for sort of 20 to 30 minutes before you're rolling it. You might find that helps again. But this actually seems to be a happy accident that I added a couple of extra grams of water because it is feeling really nice and really silky. But you still want it quite firm, otherwise you won't get it through a pasta machine. So that is the gluten-free pasta. Now, before I hand over to somebody else, I'm just going to show you what's happening in here. So this is can you see this? I don't know if you can see the steam coming out. So that's my butternut squash and garlic sauteing away. It smells absolutely gorgeous. Once that's cooked down, I'm going to add in about 150 grams of oat milk, and then I'm just going to cook it away for another 10 minutes. I'm just going to leave it to cook with exactly the same settings, 10 minutes, about 100, and a very low speed. And then I'm going to blend it. And then I will show you how I assemble it once I roll the pasta out at the end. So now I think I'm going to hand over to Sue to show you I think we're doing almond milk, aren't we, Sue?
Yes, I'll start with almond
Fabulous.
milk. Great. This is one of our absolute staples. I have it constantly on the go.
And it's a really simple recipe. I tend to not follow the recipe in the machine anymore because I know exactly what I'm doing, but I'll just kind of show it to you on there. So the first thing that you do is measure in the almonds. So I literally just use 200 grams of almonds, and I tend to soak them overnight. You can leave them longer, but it's not too much of a problem to do that. Sometimes you get a little bit of scuzz, if you like, that comes off. So when I get up in the morning, if that's the case, I just kind of rinse it off. So in here, I've got 200 grams of almonds that have been soaking already, and I'm just going to drain that off. And we're going to add those in. So we go past the soaking part. It says minimum 6 hours, but as I say, it's been longer. So we place those right in. We add a litre of water, basically. So I'm just going to pour that. I've got that ready prepared. Roughly, right, maybe a bit more, nearly. There we go. That's perfect. Okay, so if I go on now, this is a noisy process. It basically takes 3 minutes, which is already set, and it's on maximum speed because obviously it's got quite a lot to do. So I'm going to set that off, but silence myself whilst it's happening. So that you don't get sort of blasted on the ear front, and then we'll come back when I'm going to drain it all through the nut bag. So I'll see you back shortly in a mo.
Yes, those almonds, we've just had a question about the almonds with the skin on. Absolutely, yeah, because the nut milk bag will strain the milk from all the almond sort of nutty bit and the skins. So yeah, absolutely keep the skins on. Right, we're going to go over to Michaela now, I believe, who is going to show us the wellness shots.
Hey everyone, I'm just going to put you straight onto my Thermomix camera because I know we've got some really new people on here who haven't seen it before. So what I'm going to do is you're going to be able to see my touchscreen. As you can see, I've got the planner. Right now I'm going to do the turmeric wellness shot, which is really super easy. I'm just going to press start and it's going to tell me what to do. So here we have, I've got some lemon flesh that I'm just going to put in there. Press next again, look. It's saying 5 centimeter pieces of fresh turmeric sliced up. So I did this earlier on. I always put a little bit extra in. This turmeric comes, you can get it at most supermarkets now. However, recently I've been getting it in big kilo packs from the natural food company off Amazon. Here we go, look, and it's ginger. So again, 2.5 centimeter freshly sliced ginger. Press next again. Says 200 grams of fresh pineapple. Well, some of you, my customers might know, is I love a bargain. So I always buy the overripe fruit on the market for pence. This is pineapple that I cubed, and then I just shove in the freezer and use it as I need it. So this becomes really cheap. But if you can see here, look, there's the scale, and I'm just going to weigh in 200 grams of fresh pineapple. Might put it slightly over because I do like a bit of pineapple. There we go. And the next is 400 grams of water. And I've also got here, I squeeze out the lemon for just a little bit extra nutrition out of the lemon. So I put that in and then put the water in. So again, can you see I'm weighing directly into the machine, only using one pot. And I've got a very small kitchen. I know it doesn't look so on the camera, but here we are on my work surface, and I've only got this one bit of equipment. There we go. Next is a pinch of cayenne pepper. So why do I take this shot? Well, this is absolutely bursting with vitamin C, and also it is got the turmeric, which is a great anti-inflammatory. I've been taking this now in the peak season of colds and flu. So press next, pinch of pepper, and touch wood, so far I have not had a cold or a sniffle. Fallen down the steps and hurt my ankle, but I've not had any cold. And there we go. It's now going to ask me to blend that on speed 9 for 1 minute. And what I'll do is we're going to go back to Sue now, but I'll decant that and show you what this lovely sunshine in a glass looks like. Over to you, Sue.
Sorry.
Okay. I didn't hear any of that, but I'll catch that on the recording because that looks great. So this is just literally finished now. So I'm just going to lift the lid off and you'll see this lovely creamy consistency. So we'll just kind of scrape that around.
Sue, sorry to interrupt you, but we've had a couple of questions about uses for the almond nut pulp, and I know that you have recipes that you use all the time.
I do, yes, because I have a lot of that to use up. So I'm going to talk through that as I strain this. So basically, I've got a huge jug full of lovely creamy substance here. I've got a nut bag, which I just purchased online. They're quite cheap to use. This one's a little bit crinkly because I've used it so much, but it's perfectly good and it just washes out really easily. So I'm literally going to do that over a bowl and I pour all of this in. It's quite warm actually because it's been going in that hot motor for a while. Just make sure I get it all in there because it can be a bit messy otherwise. So pouring that all in, there we go, and then that just drips through. Now sometimes if I'm busy and I've got other stuff going on, I will actually hang that to one of the cupboard doors and it will just kind of drip through on its own to a certain extent. Obviously I can also speed it up a bit if I want to. I just gently squeeze it, making sure I've got clean hands obviously, and you can see it just kind of running out there. Now this comes out basically to be incredibly much more creamy and thicker than the stuff that you will buy in a supermarket, and there are no other ingredients in it. It's literally just almonds and water, and we love it like that. From a cost perspective, it's really good. I basically buy nuts often just from Lidl actually, which are great. So a pack of 200 grams costs £2 just about. And this will produce a litre of almond milk. However, it's so much more thick than what you buy that I tend to, in a lot of things, do a 50-50 dilution. So effectively, although I store it in the fridge as a litre, I'm effectively getting 2 litres out of that, which works out at £1 a litre. And there aren't many almond mix that you can buy, well, you can't really buy them for that cheap, and if you can, then they wouldn't have nearly the almond quantity in it. So that's, and then the other benefit, of course, is that you're left with this almond pulp, which has a huge number of other uses. So you've got like a byproduct that you get for free. So some of the things that I use that in, you can make little energy balls, adding dates and cacao, that just take a few seconds really to swizz up. It's a recipe that's on the Thermomix. You can vary that with different fruit and seeds and what have you. I also substitute it in other recipes that use almonds. So for example, there's some really nice biscuits that almond, cocoa and coconut little biscuits that are obviously gluten-free. They use almonds and my son loves them. I make some oat bars actually. Well, I replace the oats with the almonds because it gives that base, and that's got banana and fruit and nuts and stuff in them. You can make seeded crackers. There's a recipe for that. And you can also make cheesy pitters. That's one on my list of things to try actually. There's various other things you can do with it. You can either use them wet as they are straight from here. I could kind of bung them into a recipe and make something straight away. Or you can dry them out if you've got a dehydrator, or you can just spread them out on a baking tray in the bottom of the oven when it's hot after you've been cooking something else, or just put it on really low. And it will dry that out and kind of break it up a bit. And then you can basically just swizz it in the Thermomix for a bit, and you end up with basically almond flour, which again will keep longer then, and you can use that in anything later on. The stuff itself will keep for a few days in the fridge when it's in a wet state, but I would only do that if I know that I'm planning to make something and kind of use it up. Otherwise you can end up wasting it, which is a shame. So I think that's pretty much it. So you can get a little bit more out, but that's basically I shall do that later. And then if I just show you, I basically store it in a jug in the fridge. I had this great idea. I was going to use a lovely bottle that I've got, but it has a narrow top, and you do get a slight residue down the sides of the bottle, which was hard to clean. So I tend to just keep it in this jug. You can see how lovely and creamy it is. That's there. And then I just cover it with this beeswax wrap and store it in the fridge for use in smoothies, for use in porridge, for use in cooking. Oh, and actually I'm going to use some in the cashew cheese that I'm going to make in a little while. So I think that's, has anybody got any other questions? Do you want to read out any other questions from that? Does that answer everybody?
Oh, that was brilliant, Sue. Thank you. And really good to hear of all the other uses for the almond pulp, because effectively that's free food, isn't it? You've already accounted for the cost in the almond milk. So lovely. Brilliant. Okay, well, let's go over to Michaela then. If anybody's got any other questions for Sue, please do pop them in the chat. Sue's a real expert on healthy eating. So, you know, use her while you've got her. So here's Michaela with a tiara and a shot. I think you need to lay off these shots, Michaela. They're obviously doing you far too much good.
So here we go, look, here's the shot. I have about 100 grams a day. This will stay fresh in the fridge for 5 days, and that actually equates to about 5 portions. I also, as an extra little immune boost, I had some doTERRA oil, some Cashew, which is absolutely fantastic. Right, so we're going to go on to a nut now, which I've, there we go. I'm having a few technical issues myself today. Right, UV camera. So now I'm going to do the ABC nut butter. So I choose this one. There is many different variations of the butter, but I choose this one because it just creates a whole selection of nuts, look. And, you know, I always have almond nuts in, look. So, because I'm like Sue, I have almond milk, but there's, you know, when you've got those odd bags of ends of nuts. So I'm just going to press start here, and it's asking for 5 raw almond nuts. Can you see, look, I've gone into an American recipe and the machine has converted it straight to imperial measurements because I'm following a guided recipe. So I don't have to worry about that. So here I am, I'm going to weigh directly in 5 ounces of almond nuts. There we go. One more, just to take it up. Oh, look at that, it's been naughty. There we go. And then press next. It's asking for 5 ounces of Brazil nuts. Just pop that straight in.
Michaela, just whilst you're weighing out your nuts, we've had a question. Do you add the oil to the turmeric shot and then store it as in the jug, or do you just add it to your glass as you go?
I add 2 drops to my glass every morning, so don't put it into the main drink. Yeah. Right, here we go. Putting in, oh, I'm just slightly short of Brazil nuts, but I don't think that really matters. And then 5 ounces of raw cashew nuts. I'm just going to plonk them in there as well. So here we go. It's going to ask me to grind them now, and it's going to be really, really noisy. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to come back to me in between another one, aren't we? So I'll put myself on mute, and you can all get to see. Or have I gone a bit quick, Sue? Do you want me to talk a bit longer?
But you've just had a question, actually. Why cassia oil?
So cassia oil is it's an immune boosting oil. So it's come from the cinnamon plant, and yeah, I just use it as an extra immune boost during the winter months. Or you could use the dry cinnamon, but this is probably a higher quality and a higher grade. Any other questions? I know we've added the oil. There we go.
Well, I use doTERRA oils in cooking all the time. I think they're unparalleled, really, in terms of their potency and their flavour.
Yeah.
And Marie uses them in her chocolates. Absolutely brilliant, edible, food grade quality, and you literally need the tiniest amount. Sometimes even just a toothpick will flavour it because they are so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I put 2 drops of this in, and that, which is quite a lot really, and you can taste the difference. But I mean, if you just wanted to build up to it, literally, as Lindsay said, you can almost put a toothpick in every day, and that you'll find that does make a difference, and it does have quite a woody taste, not so cinnamon but more woody on there.
We've just actually had a quick question, just saying how noisy are the Thermomixes actually when they're going? So can we have a little bit of a
You want me to do that?
Demonstration? Yeah, you can.
And then I'll flick over.
Why don't you go for it, Michaela?
Yeah,
just put it on speed 10. So the important thing to remember is at speed 10, you're not going to be running it for very long, tops of about a minute.
So this is on speed 9, so watch this. It's not too bad. The TM6 is...
Yeah, I think the sound just drops off slightly actually on Zoom when it's going, but you know, at the levels 9, 10, you're not going to be running them for very long because the motor is so powerful. Those blades go about 250 miles an hour, 250 kilometers an hour when they're on full whack. So really, you don't need, that's sort of the benefit of the Thermomix, is that it's so powerful. You do things for a much shorter space of time. So whereas I used to make my nut butters in a food processor, I'd be there for like 10-15 minutes sometimes, just trying to get the oils out of the nuts. Now I know Claire's going to come up with a joke of that, because me and my oily nuts. she's going to think about it. There you go, Claire. I'll set you a challenge for the chat. Okay, are we ready to hand back to Sue?
Yes. So,
Fab.
hi. Sorry, yes, I had a bit of a spillage. Sometimes it gets a bit messy, that job, so I'm all cleared up now. And just to show you, that is the grounds that are left over at the end. So you can see it's quite a soft, it's very finely ground. It's just a little bit obviously damp. I've got out as much as I can from that, but that's my kind of byproduct. So moving on now to the cashew cheese. This is delicious and it's a real hit with my son, who has to have dairy free. I've actually set the first step going over there, but we'll move it over here. So following the recipe, the very first step is, apart from greasing a ramekin, which is what I'm going to put it into, which I've already done, we use agar, which is like a sort of gelatin, vegan gelatin substitute, if you like. You can make jelly with this. And I do have to buy this online, but this will last for quite a long time, this packet. And it's literally agar powder, and that's what helps it to set a little bit. So I've already put some of that into some water. That's the first step, which I set going on the other machine. And it has heated that up for a few minutes, which we've just done. And now I'm going to add all of the other ingredients. Now, because this is a great time-saving device, what I tend to do is, whilst that's heating up for 5 minutes, I just assemble all of the other ingredients so that when it's ready, I can just throw everything in really quick. So you can see I've got the ingredients out here. There. So you can see what's there. The first thing that goes in is some almond milk. And of course, I've just literally made some fresh almond milk. So I'm going to do it into something smaller to get that in there. And reset the scales so I can weigh it in. Hopefully I'm not spilling that everywhere. Okay, so we want 100 grams of that, which I'll just measure in and there. This is one thing that I do use the almond milk neat in, actually, just because it gives it a bit of extra thickness, but you could dilute it if you wanted. There we go. Just move it over. So 100 grams of almond milk. And then next we have 100 grams of raw cashews, and these just go straight in. Often you have to soak nuts first, but not these, because they're going to be cooked. So we go straight in with those. And then next we use, and again I've got all of these set up, so we use nutritional yeast, which you might be familiar with if you're used to kind of cooking vegan. That gives it the kind of cheesy flavour, so we've got some of that. Next is apple cider vinegar. So I've got a bottle of that I stick in. That's great, and you can measure that out already. Garlic powder. I've got all the dry ingredients in here, so that's going to go in here. I've got garlic powder, onion powder, salt, miso paste. That's something that you might not have, but you can buy miso in most supermarkets. Some of it is darker than others, and that will give you a slightly different flavour. And this does actually ask for white miso, which has a slightly sweeter flavour. This is kind of in between, actually. The darker one, again, though, you could substitute that and it would be still delicious. And then we have a couple of pinches of turmeric, a pinch of paprika, and two teaspoons of dried chives. So the beauty of these is they're all really store-cupboard items. Once you've kind of got organised to make them and you've got all the stuff, it's really easy to whip up some cheese. So I'm going to pop all of those in. Now that's all of the dry ingredients in there, and that's the miso paste. Stick that in. And then we just pop the top on. and it's basically 8 minutes. So it's going to cook that for 8 minutes. And when it's done that, the next step is quite key, because we don't want it to set before I've got it out. Otherwise it will take me ages to kind of get it out. So as soon as that's done, I'm going to blend it straight away and pour it out into this pot, and that will cool down and make a delicious cashew cheese. So I shall set that off now and pass on to whoever is next.
Sarah, Sarah, and her wonderful apron that we're all very jealous of. And kitchen, I have to say.
I'm going to be making the cacao and orange bars. They're really great for a healthy little snack. Right, here we go, start cooking. Right, then I've lined my thing. 160 grams of cashew nuts. I have already weighed those out actually. Right, now I have to lid on, spin these for 30 seconds. This might be a bit noisy.
While you're doing that, should we just go over to Michaela? Have you finished your nut butter? Rather than Sarah doing a little dance in a bikini apron, which of course, you know, we always love
really
to see.
want to see the bikini apron. I want to see her dance it. I have actually, it's just finished. Look at, oh no, wrong camera. Let me just change the camera view, boom. We have literally just finished it. Look, here we go. I'm just going to decant it. And that's really, it's actually warmed up in there, and it's got a lovely oil consistency to it. And I'm going to decant that. Now, what you can do is you could roast your nuts if you so choose to add a little bit more flavour. And you can just use any variety of nuts as well. So it's really open to you guys how you want to use it. So I'll hand back to Sarah.
Okay, so it's told me to scrape down the sides. This is what it's done to the cashew nuts in the 30 seconds. And now I'm going to just add all of the other ingredients. So I've got the dates, which are halved and just pitted. 50 grams of raisins, and it's zeroing it every time it asks me to put another ingredient in. On the cacao powder, chocolate powder, and then the orange zest. Now these chocolate bars, they cost about £2.50 for 3 in the supermarket, sort of roughly 85p each, but with all these ingredients, they work out at about 23p each. And I always actually cut them into bite-sized bits, so I just eat too many of them. But they're great instead of eating biscuits, and I just call them the healthy snacks, and the children eat them. They don't realise there's dates and healthy stuff in them. They just think they're quite chocolate, well, they're chocolatey and they're tasty. So I'm going to just put the lid on. It's going to go for another 30 seconds. Okay, speed 8.
There's so many different types of these bars that you can do, and I've got a real stash of them. I'm going to dig my stash out of the garage, actually. I did a healthy salted caramel millionaire shortbread with a date filling and then a coconut flour base, and then I used coconut oil and cocoa to top it to make the chocolate layer. Absolutely delicious. I've done these cacao and orange bars. I must have done them about 5 times since I discovered them in January, because they are so easy and absolutely delicious. And then I've done some fruit and nut bars as well. We've done some Lara bars, banana Lara bars, which are a big hit apparently in the States. We don't have them over here, but yeah, loads of different options that you can find for healthy snacks on Cookie Doo. How are you doing?
She's gone quiet.
Yeah, she's giving it a couple more seconds, I think.
Hang on.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I just scraped down the sides, but actually it doesn't really need that because it doesn't go up to the sides. But now it's just asking me to put it in a lined, cling film lined tin. And I will tip it into that. And then all I have to do is put it in the fridge for a couple of hours. And then I just take it out. And then just cut it up. You have your perfect little nibbles. You know, it's nice and sticky. There we go.
Yeah, so that was, I mean, made in minutes, really, wasn't it? A couple of minutes, and it's absolutely delicious. Yeah, I almost wish I hadn't have discovered these.
These are ones I made earlier, but they seem disappearing quite quickly.
Okay, right. Should we hand over what you're doing? Should we hand over to, I think it's Glynis, to show us the dairy-free mango ice cream.
Whoop, whoop.
Hold on, Glynis, don't get too excited. You've disappeared off my screen. Hold on. There we go. We've got your glam glint.
You've caught me on the hop.
Glynis has just gone to put the full-blown bikini on. Forget the apron.
I thought I was coming on after the cheese. Anyway, hello everyone. This is Theodore, my friend. I've had him for pretty much exactly 3 months, and I love him. He has changed our lives. As Lindsay said, I've never cooked before, and I have used him every single day since I got him at the end of November. I even did Christmas lunch on him. It is amazing. So I'm the lucky girl to make dairy-free ice cream. So press start cooking. And it's asking me to place 70 grams of sugar in him. Now, what you can do is you can use banana instead of sugar if you want to be sugar-free as well. Ooh. I'm just going to blend that for 10 seconds. And this isn't noisy. And the reason I wanted to show you it with sugar is because this was just normal granulated sugar. And look, it's made icing sugar. You'd never have to buy icing sugar again. It is amazing. So scrape down the sides of the bowl. This comes free with the Thermomix. So scrape that down. Lindsay spoke about a favourite spatula. This is my absolute favourite spatula. It is just so lovely. I love it. Half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And there. 300 grams of frozen mango. I prepared it earlier. 300 grams in, straight from the freezer.
Don't you mean Richard prepared it earlier?
Yeah, Richard prepared it earlier. I bought a 500 gram bag for £1.50. So Richard bought a 500 gram bag for £1.50. And when we looked up the price of dairy-free mango yogurt, it was £4.99 for 100 mils. Saving money. 150 grams of soya yogurt, which you can get pretty much everywhere now. And this is vanilla flavoured.
You can make your own in the Thermomix, cheaper.
Oh yeah, you can make your own.
And you could use coconut oil, coconut yogurt if you wanted to. And again, you can make coconut yogurt in the Thermomix too, using the fermentation mode.
Now, this is the exciting bit. You get your spatula and you put it in the hole of the lid. And then we're going to mix it for 18 seconds. It's amazing. My children, when they hear this noise of the alarm, they'll pop into the kitchen any minute because they know Theodore's finished. And then you serve it immediately in your ready prepared luxury glass. Let's just get this and I can just show you one. Just pop that in there. It smells gorgeous. And then you can put some ready chopped fresh mango, which I've been munching during this demonstration. Pop that on there. And some desiccated coconut. You should use flakes really, but I haven't got any, so I'm just going to use that. And there you have it, my gorgeous people. The most beautiful dairy-free ice cream that you know exactly what's in it, and it's cost you less than half the price of the shops. That's it. Now I've got to go and find the little ones.
Perfect.
Fantastic, Glenys.
Are they finding you? My little ones found me and just walked off with my kitchen timer. So Marie, can you just give me a shout at 5 minutes? Because I just want to give my bread 5 minutes more.
Absolutely. Can we just pop over to Sue for the cheese?
Yeah, brilliant. Perfect timing.
Yeah,
Lovely.
it's just literally finished. So it did the cooking. And then just for the last minute, this is one bit where you can't just set it and leave it actually. You spend a minute and you increase the blending speed gradually from a 4 up to a 9. So just every few seconds, just kind of tweak it up. It's just finished. So I'm going to take off the lid and you can see this lovely steam coming off, this lovely sort of gooey substance, but it will set quite quickly because of the agar that's in it. So I'm just going to quickly kind of wipe off that. It does look a bit yellow. It's got a bit of turmeric in it, which is all good. And then you can see that there, yes. And then I'm literally just going to pour it into this ramekin that I've prepared. This has become our nominated cashew cheese dish, and it gets eaten so quick I have to keep replacing it. So yeah, literally just pop it in there, and then it'll take a little bit of time to cool and set. And once it's cool, it just goes in the fridge. And it's ready very quickly. Delicious on some gluten-free crackers or some of that lovely gluten-free bread that Lindsay's about to get out the oven. And it's really delicious. It's hard, becomes hard enough to kind of cut into, not like a cheddar hard, but like a semi-hard cheese that you can certainly sort of cut a slice out of and pop onto a cracker. So I'll have one happy boy that I've replenished his stock today. Let me know if there's any questions, but otherwise, yeah, well, hand back over to
me, I think. Yeah, to me, yeah. And actually, I will get the bread out of the oven now, just because it is looking pretty good, and I'd like to show it to you before I get stuck into my pasta. So here's that gluten-free artisan bread. Let me just see if I can get it off of here to show you. There we go. Doesn't that look absolutely fantastic? Can't wait to cut into that in a little while. So it's all risen and lovely. It smells absolutely delicious. Before I just get into the pasta, I want to show you these. So talking about the healthy snacks, these are all the snacks that I've been making and experimenting with. Again, mostly all cookie dough recipes. There's the salted caramel millionaires slice. Doesn't that look amazing? These are the naked chocolate and orange bars. And I actually cut mine up into really small squares. So I feel like I'm not eating as much as I should, although admittedly then I start eating more of them. There's the fruit and nut bar. These are amazing with goji berries rammed with loads of really cool super fruits. And then some banana Lara bars. I think that's about it. Oh, and these are raw chocolate brownies with blueberry powder. They are absolutely delicious. And if you've got other fruit powders, you could substitute them. So I'm going to whip up a batch next week, I think, with some raspberry powder as well. I think they'll be absolutely amazing. And they weren't cooked and they set like this. Brilliant. Right, so I'm going to get on with rolling out the pasta. Let me just take you round my kitchen. You get to see behind the scenes. So here I'm set up. You see, I've got my pasta machine behind me. In fact, I might just put you that side to start with, actually, because you'll see the pasta coming out. Now, here's the pasta that I made about an hour ago. Let me just go and shut the door. Lock my children out. I'm going to take off about a 50-gram portion here. Let's get that out of the way. I might just turn that light off, actually. There we go. I'm taking off a 50-gram portion. Now, you have to work with smaller portions when you're rolling out this vegan gluten-free pasta because it is quite fragile. So I've tried to do 100 grams, which is what I would normally do for when I roll out normal pasta, but it doesn't really work very well. So I'm going to do the 50-gram portion. And then all I'm going to do to get it going is just roll it out with my rolling pin, just so that it will start to roll through those rollers. So I've got a sort of a flat disc, and then I'm just going to roll it through. I need to get it on the first setting, that would help. There we go. Just roll it through once like that. Then I'm just going to move up through the settings, and it's going to get thinner and thinner and thinner. Actually, this is behaving quite nicely. Okay. There we are. I just tip you down. If I'm trying to put you at a slight angle so you can see everything. Okay. Now, the important thing again to remember with this pasta dough is not to go through the final setting on the machine. Can you see how carefully I'm having to handle this? So I'm working up to I'm on the penultimate setting. So if you've got an Imperia pasta machine like me, and actually what I might do is just cut it in half. Let's get my pizza cutter, just cut it in half. If you've got an Imperia machine like me, I believe you've got 6 settings on there. So go up to the 5th setting, because the 6th one will roll it too thinly for you to handle. So there's one part out. And then, so it's exactly the same principle if you're making normal pasta. You would just roll out your dough, and it's a lot easier to handle because of the gluten in there. It will stick together and it's pliable for you. I just have to be really careful here. I'm just going to get it through. So I've got my 2 sort of sheets. Now this could be okay for using, you can use that in lasagna. So I'm just going to come back the other side. There we are. And you can see I lost a little bit. There we are. It fell off. Never mind. I just pop that back into the next batch to roll out. So I've rolled out about 50 grams there. 80 grams, 80 to 100 grams, probably more like 80 grams is enough for one person. So this would be one person's portion. And then I'm just going to get my handle for the machine, and I'm going to put it into the tagliatelle setting. So you'll notice on these machines, you've got one side is your rollers, and then the other side is your cutters. So you've got a tagliatelle setting and a spaghetti setting, which is more like capelletti, I think, sort of the angel hair pasta, which is really lovely, actually. I don't put this gluten-free pasta through that setting because it is so fine. And then I'm just going to wind it through the rollers. There you go. Can you see it coming out in tagliatelle strands? Oh, there we go. Just lift it over a bit. There we are. So there's my strands of pasta. Let's do the other one as well. Get that one cut through. And I've used a little bit of gluten-free flour to dust it. And then I'm going to just get it straight into a pan of hot water. So if you just want to come with me, see my messy kitchen that I usually don't show on camera. Here's my water. It was at the boil. I'm just going to get it right up to the boil. Here you go. The joys of an induction hob, which is really responsive. And once I've popped a little bit of olive oil and some salt in there. And then I am going to, when it's at the boil, just going to drop it down a little bit. I'm just going to put my pasta straight in and allow it to cook for a couple of minutes. So I'm going to time, now I've got my timer back. I'm going to time a couple of minutes on there. Ooh. And I was just wanted to show you, this is some pasta, some of the gluten-free pasta that I made the other day when I was just finalizing my recipe. And as you can see, I've dried it. So I just left it overnight on my silicone baking mat in a single layer, and it's dry. So you can store it. So you could make a big batch at a time if you want to, and then store it in a jar in the cupboard. So you've always got this to hand when you want to use it. So let's just put that to the side. Now, the other thing I was going to show you, and actually I forgot to say this part of the recipe, is I've got some sage leaves. I think sage and butternut squash work really well together. So here is my butternut sauce already made. So that was just cooked away with the oat milk for about 10 minutes, and then I just blended it. If I'd have been on the ball when I started it, I would have put in, I've just got some sage and olive oil here. This is some sage I actually cooked in the machine a few weeks ago in some olive oil at a high temperature, so it's gone crispy. I'm just going to pop that in as well, because it gives it a lovely flavour. And then I've got some nutritional yeast as well. So this is a bit like Parmesan, actually, if you're on a plant-based diet. As Sue was saying, it gives things a really sort of cheesy, very sort of wholesome flavour. So it's a really good substitute for Parmesan. I'm going to switch my machine back on. Have I not plugged it back in? There we are. So I'm just going to pop in sort of a tablespoon of nutritional yeast. I've already seasoned it as well. So I've seasoned it with salt and pepper. Might just give it a little bit more. grinder. And then once the pasta is cooked, hoping that I can grab it out and pop it into a sieve. I can rescue it. There we go, that's cooked nicely. It's only a very, very small portion. I'll cook the rest of it later. I'm just going to drain off that water. Okay, so I've got a little bowl I'm just going to pop it into. So here is my gluten-free pasta, which I've just cooked off in the water for a couple of minutes. Pop it into a bowl. Then I'm just going to put a little bit of pasta on it to dress it. Pasta sauce, sorry, to dress it in here. Now, you could add some spinach at this point if you wanted to, and then it would wilt away. And then the reason I do it like this is because then I'll just place it up separately, so it looks a bit nicer on the plate. Right, now my timer's beeping at me to tell me it's cooked. So it's, yes, a very, very small portion. I'm gonna, now the pasta is dressed with its sauce. There it goes onto the plate. I think I need to actually add some extra pasta to that. Pop a little bit of the remaining sage on. A little bit of nutritional yeast over the top. Let's get rid of that. A little bit of nutritional yeast over the top. And then some pepper to finish. This is like a mini portion, but it gives you this general idea. So there we go. So that is the butternut squash pasta with vegan and gluten-free pasta. Yeah, perfect appetizer, or perfect. I guess what Thea, my 2-year-old, is going to have for her tea tonight. Hopefully I can get her to eat that. Might have to add some tomato into it so it looks a bit more like a tomato sauce. But there we go. So I think we're at the end of the session. We've been cooking for just under an hour, which is a big achievement. Has everybody got their finished products to hand, that we can just sort of show the guests on the call what it looks like when it all comes together? I'm sorry to spring that on you at the last minute.
All of us. Can you spotlight?
Yes, Marie, can you spotlight everybody? That would be it. That's a great idea. Now, why didn't I think of that?
Did we see the sliced bread as well? Sorry.
Oh, I won't slice it until it's gone cold. Just because, well, not cold, but you can't really slice this bread until it's cooled down. So there we are. So there, what have we got? So we've got the wellness shot and the nut butter with Michaela. And then obviously my gluten-free bread, the little treats, and the pumpkin sauce. Is the ice cream already gone, Glynis?
The ice cream's gone, but just to show you, while I've been watching your demo, I've just had Theodore wash himself up. So I just have to put that in the sink and just rinse it through, and it is done. And the kitchen is immaculate. No ice cream to show you. It got gobbled up, sorry.
Yeah, I thought it might. And who else have we got? So Sarah got hers to hand. Mind you, we've got some of the little treats here. So I hope you've all, yeah, there we go, on the plate. And Elsa, has yours gone in the oven now? I'm assuming your bread is in the oven cooking away.
It's still proving, but I can show you how much it's risen.
Yeah, no, that'd be lovely.
Here we go.
Oh yeah,
wow.
That looks really good. Just domed and put onto a baking sheet. Fabulous. So I really hope you've enjoyed that little insight into our world, and that maybe some of you who aren't owners currently will, I can't take myself seriously in this apron, will consider a Thermomix. They are absolutely brilliant machines. All of us said no at some point in our lives, and we've well and truly changed our minds about them. If you want to see a specific demo tailored to your needs, please do go back to the advisor that has invited you to this call today and ask for a demo. We like nothing more than showing what we do through personalised, tailored cooking experiences to your needs. So we'd be very honoured to beam into your homes from our kitchens with a group of your friends and share what we do and this amazing food that we're able to make so easily. So once again, thank you for joining us today. We've just got one thing to mention. We've got 1 week left. If we have got any prospective customers on the call, 1 week left of our February special offer, which is the Thermomix and the Thermomix Friend, the new companion device for $14.99. So if you want to take advantage of that again, please do talk to your advisor. But from all of us here, thank you very much for joining us today, and have a wonderful afternoon. And we hope you've learned something. Bye-bye.
Are we staying on, Lindsay, the advisors?
Yeah, the advisors can stay on. Let me just stop recording. There we go.